Hello, and welcome to another TMRN, Time Monk Radio Network production. I'm McLaren, your host for this program. Today is Saturday, December 10, 2011. And rejoining us today is Bix Weir. Bix runs the roadtoruta.com website and offers his insights regarding movements and price changes of gold and silver to his subscribers. The premise behind the Road to Ruta theory is that there are good guys and bad guys in the monetary and financial world operating behind the scenes. The good guys are acting to return the USA and potentially thereby the world to a basis of sound money, enabling the potential for prosperity to be achieved by those that work for it, while the bad guys are, and have been, taking advantage of the current corrupt monetary and financial system to enrich themselves at the expense of everyone else. Hello, Bix, and welcome to the Time Monk Radio Roundtable.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited about today's interview.
Terrific. We're very happy to have you back again. The Time Monk Radio Network administrator and executive producer is Fox. Today's program producer director and technical support for this show are being coordinated by TRM and member Gemini 1111. Several members of the forum were kind enough to join us for this discussion. They include members Alan, Romans 8:28 is true, also known as Romans, and NAD. For listeners to this interview, we are assuming you have a fairly good understanding of Bix's work, the Road to Ruta theory, and the premises that underlie his thinking. Again, his website is roadtoruta.com. This interview will be available on YouTube for free at the Time Monk Radio channel and at the website webbotforum.com. Are you ready to begin, Bix?
Let's go.
Terrific. Today's roundtable discussion questions have been broken into a number of different topic areas, the first of which is market events. And the first question on this topic area is presented by Romans. Romans?
Hi, Bix. It's a pleasure to talk with you again. I have a combination question here that was both on my mind and another forum member, Blank and B. And the question is, what future fallout do you anticipate related to MF Global situation? And also, in your opinion, what do you believe the ramifications of the whole fiasco will have on the silver market?
That's a big question, and it's the hot topic right now as far as the behind-the-scenes battle for basically a return to a gold and silver standard. What happened at MF Global, the first thing you need to understand, it's MF Global is one of, if not the largest brokerage for commodities, mainly dealing in on the COMEX, but also at the LME in London. And for a U.S. or any unbacked currency to survive, you have to control all commodities, and that's been true over the centuries, because the moment you remove a backing from a currency, for example, the U.S., when the U.S. went off the pseudo gold standard we have in 71, the moment you move off that, people are going to flock into commodities. So what my theory is, and what I've shown and proven, I believe, is that in the early 1970s, the Federal Reserve, along with Alan Greenspan and a guy named John Kimony, introduced computer trading programs to rig the commodity markets. And that was solely in order to control the unbacked fiat monetary system and have it last as long as it's lasted. So having the largest commodity brokerage firm go down in a pile almost instantaneously is a gigantic deal on every level. Now, the MF Global situation is interesting because of the connections of John Corzine, because of how they went down. They went down not because of their European bets went bad. That's the story that's given to the public. The Fed and the Treasury and the banks could have covered that up easily. It's not about $2 or $3 billion. It's much bigger. And what it's doing is, first of all, it's JP Morgan is the bank that took them down. They pulled their credit line. They slowed down their trades during a couple trading days. They've basically put a lien on, or tried to put a lien on all their assets and all their customer assets. This is solely a JP Morgan instigated event. Now, the question comes down to, was JP Morgan doing this for their own benefit to cover their shorts, or what was JP Morgan's motivation? Or, as I've come to discover a little while down the line, now that we're this far down, were they told and directed to do it by the good guys, by the people at the U.S. Treasury and the people at the Fed in the U.S., I believe directed them to take down MF Global. You can tell by all the delays that are happening, all the regulators that are dropping the ball. This is purely an event to destabilize the market. And I made a list of 6 things that are basically the end result of this MF Global collapse. And the first one is you're going to have even more regulations in the market, which is not what the bankers want. 2, you're going to have a loss of trust in the CME and at other exchanges and in London. 3, you're going to have people moving out of silver contracts and gold contracts and into physical. We're already seeing that. As a matter of fact, my own coin dealer in the area had $60,000 tied up with MF Global. He's gotten some of it back, but not even close to all of it. And he said there's no way he's going back into hedge his inventories in futures and options. He's going to use all that money and stick it into inventory. So it's just more examples of people taking money out of the paper games and moving it into the real stuff, the real physical gold and real physical silver. And then 4 is a loss of trust in the legal and bankruptcy system. This bankruptcy proceeding is an absolute joke and being run by people, the trustee and the bankruptcy court and JP Morgan have full control, and the 150,000 accounts that are frozen at MF Global have no say in the whole matter. It is all being done the way they want to be done, and it is delaying any kind of refund, or the biggest thing is delaying getting contracts back that people were supposedly bought on the long side, and then they're giving them back. In the case of Gerald Salente, he had, I think, gold contracts in the $1,400 range for December delivery, and they're transferring it to another brokerage house at today's market price of 17 something. So all that fraud is going on. There's a loss of trust in all the guarantees. The CME was supposed to guarantee all MF Global trades, and that's why all these exchanges are going public now. They used to be owned by the board members, by the traders themselves. They're all going public because they know the end game is near, and that end game is to default on everything. And then the last, there's also the SIPC, which is a private insurance for stocks and securities and things like that. They don't even have any money, much less can guarantee the trillions upon trillions of dollars in value of stocks and things they guarantee. And then the last thing is the visibility factor, the visibility of corruption at the very heart of the commodity markets. The whole world knows now, and as Bill Murphy says over at GATA, the bad guys can't stand the light of day. Once it's shown in the open what's going on, everybody's going to rush into physical, get out of all their paper contracts, which we're seeing now. And there was a very interesting announcement today or Friday that HSBC is suing MF Global for contracts that for gold contracts and silver contracts that they don't know who the owner is. There are 8 or 9 claims on it, very same gold and very same silver. So the whole MF Global ramifications are going to be gigantic, and they are gigantic already. And you're seeing people starting to panic. We're very close to that rich riots attack on the warehouses of gold and silver that Cliff Hyde talked about all these years. I think we're seeing it now, and between now and sometime within the first quarter, we're going to see basically the stopping of trade on the COMEX and everybody chasing after gold and silver bars that they thought they had in inventory. So it is a huge deal. It is being directed by the good guys, I believe, to completely destroy all trust in our financial markets, which is part of the plan. Part of the plan is to destroy all markets and return to a gold standard with a more fair playing field. So that's kind of a long answer to an easy question.
Well, that's okay. I appreciate that, and I agree with you that the light of day is sure starting to shine on this. And I don't think it's going to take as long as people think to for people to catch on. You've kind of already addressed a little bit of this next question, but I'll go ahead and give it to you anyway. What event or events do you believe will bring on an end to the fraud and deception that the silver market is now showing that is so obvious? Do you think it'll be the Hong Kong Metals Exchange opening, or this MF Global thing, or something else?
The Hong Kong Metal Exchange, I think it's a non-factor because all the exchanges are in on the game. So any large exchange that opens, even in China or wherever it is going to be in on the game. The game can be ended in a blink of an eye by anyone with $5 or $6 billion, which is nothing, and that would be to take delivery of every ounce of silver that you can get your hands on. Now that it's easier said than done because they will change the rules. The COMEX will start changing the rules so that you can't pull out physical metal. All these rules will change as they get deeper and deeper in trouble. But the silver manipulation will end the same time that all market manipulation ends. And it's been going on since the early 70s. So this is a big deal when it happens. But you can't let silver trade freely and at the same time have other markets be rigged, because silver will jump to $1,000 an ounce in a blink of an eye if it is allowed to trade freely, and it will stop being available. The physical side of the market is very tight right now, and the moment you stop the manipulation, and this is partly why the CFTC isn't coming down on JP Morgan, the moment you stop it, it's game over for almost every commodity, which runs over into every form of money, including the derivative market, which is imploding as we speak.
Well, I agree. I can see your point there. Sure appreciate those answers, Bix.
No problem.
The third and final question in this section is going to be presented to you, Bix, by Alan. Alan?
Thank you. And Bix, it's a pleasure and an honor to speak with you.
Thank you.
At present, the ECB, the European Central Bank, appears to be very insolvent on a market-to-market basis of its very underwater sovereign notes and the bond holdings. Do you have any thoughts on when the gold market might finally wake up and react to the situation?
Well, from the gold market side, the gold market is under control of the computer program. So whether or not, it tends to be the worse things get, the more they have to control gold. So it's kind of a reverse indicator. But what's going on in Europe is it's a gigantic deal. What they talk about in the news is just a tiny, tiny part of it. All these bailouts are bailouts for banks. They're not sovereign bailouts. They're bailing out the bondholders, and the bondholders are usually the banks. A very interesting thing happened a few months back when they bailed out Greece and only partially paid back the bondholders. And then the derivative, I think it's a board of derivative holders, mainly the banks, said this doesn't count as a default under the credit default swap arrangement, which was completely against every rule they have on credit default swaps.